So, coming back here, if I do this, I've got one small high point. I always use, I've got two of these. You know, one of them is probably 100 years old. It's nice and old, it's almost black from use. This one is I don't know what they call the finish, some sort of a matte finish, but it offers contrast. I always use the smallest, you know, it's probably not known, it's the largest of the scales. It's an 1/8" scale, because I can see much more readily where my high point is in rocking. And what I do, very typically, is I rock so that I see the gap on one side, one end of the scale, and on the other side. And what that allows me to find a point. Okay, I stop rocking and I put it in the middle, so I've got the same gap on either end of the scale. Okay, it shows me where the high point is. And it's very convenient when the high point is literally a point. It's much harder to deal with when the high point is a plateau. Okay, then you have to be a little bit more careful. And it might, again, this depends upon your own personal perception, but it might be useful to you to try to narrow that down from the ends so that you in fact do have a high point, just in terms of something that's easier and more clear to deal with. But what I've got down here now is sort of a plateau that's right in here. Okay? So I'm going to come back to that, and I'm going to do it for your benefit. I'm going to do it from side to side. I'm going to start on one end of it, and then re-examine. And now I've got a real clear high point. It rocks very, very clearly from a single point, and it's right on 2 inches for me right here. That makes it much, much easier to deal with. So I've got my scale, I rock, I find the point, and before I move it, I just come back, put my thumb there. That's all I'm going to do. And then I'm going to come back and work on that, and I've got to be very careful to feather it. In other words, to work out from that point gradually in all directions. How much you take off is just a question of familiarity with your tool and with how dense the wood is. Now when I do this, in the same position, my high point is at 2.5 inches on the scale, and it's about 1/3 of what it was in terms of the gap, maybe 1/4. So I'll come back again. Thumb. There is an element of speed or rhythm to this, and there is an element of down pressure. Let the tool do the work. You don't have to push hard. If you're working with mahogany that's just, it feels like it's, I don't know, stone or something like that, you'll find that you probably push harder. But other than that, it's just go easy, take your time, let the tool do the work.
Michael, did you ever mark high spots and plateaus and stuff?
Never.
Or you always just did it by feel?
No. It's kind of like, I don't know, I have a real philosophical bent about that. If I do that, I mean, it's kind of like making a jig or a fixture to do something.
Right.
There are places to do that, and there's nothing else that makes sense. But there are also places where I have to rely on my own skill and my own perceptions. And without being stupid about that or proud about it, it's really important to the quality of what you do. And to, I mean, it's one of those sort of vague, amorphous things like thinking about this is Gabe's guitar.
Right.
Okay, it's like smoke. It's really hard to grasp.
It's more feel.
But it makes a much greater difference.
Yeah.
You know?